This week on the Pro Wrestling Podcast, CM Punk's return is imminent, and Eric Bischoff has a thought or two about it. Jeff Hardy made his return to AEW after being on an extended leave due to his DUI arrest and recovery. Rey Mysterio opens up for the first time ever about his battles with drug addiction. And the whole world's talking about AEW heading to Wembley Stadium. I'm your host, Seth Grimes, and this is the Pro Wrestling Podcast. What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome. Come on in to another episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, here, enjoying my coffee. A little late in the day for the coffee, but I'm enjoying the coffee. It's tasting good. It's going down smooth. I do the iced coffee. I'm not a hot coffee drinker. I know some of you, this is a life or death thing. Hot coffee is life. I understand that, but I'm a cold coffee drinker. Put a couple ice cubes in it. Bloop, bloop. Got a cold brew pitcher. Mix a little creamer stuff in there. Not the powdered creamer because it doesn't mix in well. It gets all floaty at the top and stuff. It just doesn't hit the same. Get the liquid creamer, sugar-free because you don't want to be a fat fuck about it. And just enjoy. It's good for the sipping. The homebrew, though, every time I make the homebrew, it's like, it's got that little hint of sour still, you know, like the acidicness. But when I go buy like a store-bought bottle of cold brew, like a Starbucks, for example, or I shop at Meijer, and they got their own little brand of coffee that they bottle up now with all their flavors, and it's so smooth. So smooth. Not even a little hint of that little bitterness, the sourness, the acidity. You know who else is really bad for that? Is Speedway's coffee. You go to Speedway, their shit's so fucking all of it's got that acidic taste. But you didn't come here to get your coffee fucking info. You came here for some pro motherfucking wrestling, specifically the podcast, the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm here to let you know that I got you covered, my guy. We're good. We got some shit to talk about this week. Lots of shit to talk about. In fact, this week, I think we went above and beyond for you. And by we, I mean me, myself, and I. Lots to get into, so let's just jump right into it. Well, it was reported this week that my favorite dirt sheet writer and yours, Mr. Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful Select, had broken the news that CM Punk had reached out to Tony Khan and advised that he is ready to come back to work. Not only ready to come back to work, but willing to work with whoever the fuck you put in front of him. He'll work with the Young Bucks. He'll maybe punch him in the eye again, but he'll work with them, you know. He'll work with Kenny Omega. He won't bite Kenny Omega. That was a steal. Ace isn't here anymore. I won't bite the guy. I'll work with him. Chris Jericho, call me a cancer all you want. I'll work with the guy. Fuck it. Let's fucking make some money here. Of course, there's the MJF rematch on the table still, which is what they were building to before Punk got hurt and, you know, burned the whole company down around him in a press conference. So by all accounts, CM Punk is on his way back in. It was even further reported that it looks like the Chicago show in June. AEW is going to be doing a show in Chicago. I think, is this to promote the Forbidden Door event? No, because Forbidden Door is in Canada. But there is a show in June in Chicago, and that is what it's penciled in to be, so to speak, as the dirt sheets say. for CM Punk to make his return to AEW. They were even talking about, there's this rumor that there's another 2-hour show on the fucking on coming down the pike here, Collision, is that what they're calling it on the internet? A Saturday night show, 8 to 10, 2 hours, and this is going to be the CM Punk show, apparently. You know, they created this whole show just for him to be on a separate brand or a separate fucking day, a separate show where nobody has to work with him or deal with him. It's the CM Punk show. CM Punk and friends on one show, the Young Bucks and friends on another show. Perhaps that's the way that they go. I hope not. I think Tony Khan will be far overbooked. I think nobody watches Rampage as it is. Add another 2-hour show and put all your top stars on there and expect people to watch it. I don't know. You have a hard time getting over 1 million on Dynamite. But those are the rumors. But at least we know that CM Punk, for sure, we know for a fact, Dax Harwood said it himself on his podcast this week, which we'll cover in another clip. CM Punk wants to return. He's ready. He misses wrestling. He's ready to come back. He's talked to AEW. He's willing to work with whoever. I don't know if he's willing to go into the locker room and give everybody a hand job and an apology and a Starbucks gift card. But who knows what they got to do to, what they work out internally for CM Punk to be welcome back. That's between them. We don't need to know all those details. But some people out there are not as excited for CM Punk to come back. They are not as excited for the potential possibilities of matches that we could see with Punk, or the potential business that CM Punk returning to AEW, working with some of these people, could do for the company, and specifically the Wembley show. And, of course, one of those people, one of the most outspoken people, not just about CM Punk, about wrestling in general, one of our favorite opinionated motherfuckers on the internet, Mr. Eric Bischoff, was not shy about chiming in and giving his thoughts on a possible CM Punk return. This was from his Strictly Business podcast with John Alba. Check out this clip.
CM Punk, who has not been seen on AEW television since the all-out incident, brawl-out as dubbed by some. It sounds, according to several reports, including from our friend Sean Ross Sapp, that he may be back in the fold here in AEW in the very near future. According to Fightful, he has informed those around him that they're targeting the June 21st episode of AEW Dynamite, which will come to us from Chicago for his impending return. A polarizing figure in his own right, someone you've chimed in quite a bit on. Your initial reaction to these reports that seem to be gaining quite a bit of traction here?
Don't give a fuck.
Straight up.
Straight up. Who cares? This is just such drama for the sake of drama. It's a good thing that this drama is actually taking place, because there's nothing worthwhile watching AEW for. It is what it is. And if you're a fan of AEW, God bless you. Go with God. Enjoy the product. But it's flat. It's boring. It's just, there's nothing going on except for the drama outside of the ring. If Tony Khan had the ability to somehow manufacture a fraction, a small fraction, an infinitesimal amount of the drama that's taking place outside his company, and figure out a way to integrate it inside of his television product, it would be another situation, but it's not. When the drama outside of your company far exceeds the drama that you're able to create inside your company, if you're a scripted wrestling company, you've got a problem. He's not going to turn AEW's business around. Is he added value? He was. He came back. He'd been off for 7 years, and he kept this, this aura of because of the pipe bomb interview. He kept this mythology alive. Good for him, by the way. Credit to Phil for that. But now we've seen it. It moved the needle for a minute, And then things settled back down in terms of television ratings. Incrementally, did it improve live events? Sure, incrementally, but enough so that it was worthwhile to have this piece of garbage bury your company while sitting next to you and bury your roster. And as recently as 14 days ago or whatever it was, continue to do the same thing, all the while suggesting that he wants to come back. Who in the right freaking mind would do that?
You know, I wish Eric Bischoff would quit being so vague about everything. You know, he's always so political, always wants to play things safe, doesn't want to burn any bridges. You know, he's always very careful about what he says, and you got to kind of read between the lines to really get the full meaning of what an Eric Bischoff really thinks about a situation, you know. I just wish he'd be more open and honest about his thoughts. Yeah, clearly not a fan of Punk, clearly does not think Punk should come back, does not see the value in bringing Punk back. John Alba did try to push back, later on in the show. You can check out the full episode, link in the description below. But Alba did try to push back and say, Punk did have numbers here and that, this is one of those rare opportunities where we have a real life situation that can help create money in the ring, can blur those lines of reality and really draw interest from the general public. And he's not wrong there, but Bischoff's whole argument is it worth the trouble? Punk's clearly still going to be an asshole. It was just a couple weeks ago, as Bischoff said, that he did that Instagram post and buried Chris Jericho and Moxley and whoever the fuck else, Meltzer. He went on a whole nother rant. Punk hasn't had a change of heart. Punk's not gonna apologize. He might apologize a little bit, to like, I'm sorry shit went down the way it was. It was unprofessional. I shouldn't have said things the way I said it, and I would love to work with you guys. I could see him saying maybe that much as, as much as that. But he could apologize for the way he worded it, but not for what he said. He means every word of what he said. And quite frankly, I don't think he'll even apologize for the way he said it either, because he still feels that way. So you're still going to get him like that. You're still going to have him rubbing people the wrong way. You're still probably going to catch him in an interview or on a microphone at some point in time, burying somebody or ranting on something he shouldn't. He's fragile. He's gotten injured twice now in his run with AEW. He's only had a handful of matches, only been on TV a handful of times in the entire, year and a half, almost 2 years now that he's been back in professional wrestling. Holy shit. Wow. And are you gonna piss off the rest of your locker room for this guy that's gonna go on the microphone and say more shit? He's gonna get hurt. He's not gonna, the ratings will drop back down eventually. They'll calm back down to normal again, and he's not that great to watch in the ring these days anyway. Punk's a good storyteller in the ring. I think that's, people get mixed up with, how good of a worker Punk is. He's serviceable in the ring, and he's slowed down in his older age now and since he's been away for a while. But, he was always a storyteller. That was always his strong point in the ring. And, he's still telling great stories. His story with MJF was the best of that year. It's the best thing we've seen in years up until the Bloodline storyline. And he drew the first $1 million gate. He drew a couple $1 million gates. He drew huge pay-per-views. He's a draw. I don't give a fuck what anybody says out there. But do you want that drama back in your locker room? And I go back and forth on this. I'm so torn between it. There's a ton of great matches. You got the 6-man tag with the Elite and FTR. You got a one-on-one with any of the Bucks. A one-on-one with Kenny, a one-on-one with Hangman, a one-on-one with Moxley, a one-on-one with Chris Jericho, a one-on-one with MJF. You got another year to 2 years, and then just fill in gaps in between with like another Eddie Kingston, or maybe he fucking works with, I don't fucking know, Sammy Guevara, Action Andretti. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Maybe Powerhouse Hobbs beats his ass down. Did you see the way Hobbs squashed fucking Silas Young, by the way? Holy shit. Hobbs better appreciate that. I'm sure he does. I shouldn't say it like that, but Silas Young is a fucking vet, a well-respected vet. And for him to just fucking allow himself to get squashed like that was a pretty cool thing for Silas to do to help get Hobbs over. But I digress. Have him do that with Punk, There's things you can do. You can get a lot of good use out of Punk, and especially if he's going to have a second show now, and they're really going to just start. First of all, AEW does not need a second show. I didn't do a whole separate segment on this quite yet because it's just kind of rumors right now. It hasn't been announced or confirmed, and I'll save that for when it actually is. But in general, AEW does not need another show. They have the talent roster big enough for another show, but nobody watches Dark. Nobody watches Elevation. Dark Elevation, Dark and Elevation, whatever the fuck they are. Nobody watches Rampage. And you can't even get 1 million to watch Dynamite. So do we need another 2-hour show on a Saturday night from 8 to 10? Well, if it's CM Punk's show, you might get the viewers, and you'll see what kind of viewership Punk draws all on his own. If it is the CM Punk show, you got the Elite on one show, you got Punk on another. I don't know if it'll be a brand split, or maybe you'll just kind of keep the rotation, separate crews. And, maybe Punk does show up on Dynamite, but then the Elite's on fucking Collision that night or something, instead of both being in the same locker room. First of all, if you're to the point where you got to book wrestlers in separate locker rooms, you got to get rid of somebody or you got to squash it. You can't run a company where guys can't work around each other and you try to tiptoe around it and walk on eggshells. It's not going to work. Lots of money to be made with CM Punk. I really think there is. As long as he stays healthy. I just listed off fucking 6, 8, 10 guys he could work with. Easily fill 2 years of programming. Hopefully he can stay healthy. He doesn't have to be on every show. And, so he's definitely when he comes back, it's going to pop a rating. He's going to pop Wembley's ticket sales for sure. And he's 100% coming back, by the way. This is not up for debate anymore. This is pretty much a guarantee, 100% no, but we're looking at an 85-90 at this point. Punk's coming back. They would not have done Wembley Stadium. They wouldn't have announced Wembley Stadium if they didn't already have plans in place for CM Punk to come back. They probably finalized whatever deal that they had. By they, I mean Tony and Punk probably finalized whatever deal that they had to pound out, and then that's when the Wembley Stadium was announced. That was probably already booked, but they were waiting to maybe confirm it when they knew that they were going to be able to have the biggest show possible. And we'll talk more about that later too. But just to wrap this up here, to Punk or not to Punk, Punk is coming back. So I guess it's not up for debate anymore. But what do you do with him then? Does he get his own show? I don't think AEW needs it. I think it's a waste of TV time. I think, they're going to get more money and stuff, but who's going to watch it? That's my concern. Even if it is the Punk show. And is it going to stir up more trouble in your locker room? And is he going to bury the company more publicly or guys in your company more publicly? You can't say he won't because as Eric Bischoff pointed out, it was just a couple weeks ago, Punk did his little Instagram post. That's what triggered Moxley to do his reply on Renee's shit. And everybody to just, he's continuing, he's not going to change. He's continuing to burn everything down around him. Because he's CM Punk and he's fucking outspoken. He's going to say what's on his mind. He's not going to give a shit who he pisses off or what the consequences are. And that's part of his charm. And that's also why he's so hated and divisive. So we shall see. I'm going to put my money down and say Punk's coming back at this point. All signs point that way. I trust Sean Ross Sapp. He doesn't get bad information. Wembley was announced. Dax has outright said that Punk wants to come back. So Punk's coming back. He's coming back. So we need to keep an eye on what that's going to look like. Ratings, pay-per-view houses, all of that shit, but also how is it going to work with the locker room? Who's he going to piss off? Is it going to drive people away? And by the way, before I wrap this up, Meltzer's out there saying ridiculous shit like Punk and FTR are trying to push the Young Bucks and Kenny out of the company, and they're gaslighting him and stuff. You see that there was a tweet that somebody was gaslighting, and then Brandon fucking Cutlet commented on it, and then he quickly deleted it. Meltzer's full of shit. Meltzer's such a fucking... Meltzer's on the I want to say on the take, but he's probably not getting paid. But Meltzer is obviously clearly on the side of the Bucks. Clearly that's where he's getting his information from, and he fills in the gaps with his own opinions and his own assumptions on everything. Disregard all of that. Take anything you hear from him with a grain of salt. You know, is it possible they are? Sure, but I highly doubt it, man. They want to come back. They want to work. They want people to shut the fuck up and let's wrestle. Booyaka Booyaka 619. Booyaka Booyaka. Rey Mysterio was on the Impulsive podcast with Logan Paul. The newly signed Logan Paul, by the way, who signed a new deal with WWE. Covered that, last week or the week before. Logan Paul's deal was up after WrestleMania. He has re-signed. Even got a brand new photo taken with Triple H. You can tell it's a brand new photo because he's wearing yellow and not blue. The bottle's yellow and not blue. I don't know why the internet's freaking out about this. It's clearly fucking different. Photoshop. Jesus Christ. So the newly signed Logan Paul sat down to do an interview with Rey Mysterio, which I believe took place before WrestleMania. So this was before his fantastic match with Dominic, his son, which was my second favorite match off WrestleMania, by the way. I fucking loved Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. And then this one with Dominic and Rey was just fantastic. Rey did talk a little storyline beef about his son Dominic acting up and that kind of thing, but a lot of this conversation was just a really fun, free-flowing. I almost pulled a segment. They had a really good conversation about Rey's mask, and then when Rey lost the mask and how at first he hated it in WCW, and then it kind of created this giant killer persona where he was able to beat Kevin Nash the next night because it was Nash that took his mask. So Rey, saw the good in it and actually thought it helped his career, possibly opened the eyes of WWE that this little guy can work with big guys and he's not just a cruiserweight. So really good conversation there that I did want to share with you, but it was towards the end of this podcast where Rey Mysterio opened up about something that he said that he's never talked about before, ever. And I never knew this either. I've never heard this. I never even would have thought this, looking at Rey and knowing Rey for as long as I have, not personally, but, on TV and everything, that Rey Mysterio battled drug addiction, that he had a pain pill problem when he was going through one of his many, many knee injuries. And he got to a point where his wife gave him an ultimatum. Check out this clip.
Do you have any other instances in your life of failures that ended up just like teaching you something or just turning into something that changed your life for the better?
So during my big run in WWE and after so many surgeries, I got fucking hooked on painkillers for a very long time. And my wife caught me one time. We were on vacation. She saw that I was just out of it completely. So she gave me an ultimatum. She goes, so when we get back home, you can either take your pills or you can take your family. You choose. And that really opened me up, man, and it made me a stronger person because I remember getting back home to San Diego, flew to TV the next day, spoke to Vince, and I told him, boss, I need to check myself in. I'm gonna need some time off. He was cool with it. He was like, it takes a man fucking man up to what you're doing. So that was a big life changer for me, and different perspective of life and the appreciation of family and the support of my wife. It's crazy. Yeah, she's been there from day one. To be able to recognize it and check yourself in and put everything aside and move on with your life to a positive note, it was crazy. I really enjoyed that phase of my life because I learned so much of what not to do.
Yeah. How long did you go inpatient for?
I was there for 30 days. Another thing that was really big to me was my kids were young. Dominic was maybe 10 years old, 12. My daughter was very young. So to see them walk into visiting ground on Sundays, it was just great. Like, it really hit me at that point. Like,
those were the best.
Man, yeah. Why am I even in here? I
Right.
shouldn't be in here. Yeah.
So you went through it one time, and then after that
That was
you were
it.
I was going to say,
amazing.
do you have to watch that demon at all?
Nope.
Rearing its ugly head?
No, it's crazy. I was really bad prior, but once I eliminated all that toxic mindset, clean.
I thought this was really important to cover. First of all, just because Ray had never talked about this before. This is not anything that he's ever gone public about or talked about in any other interview. As far as I'm aware, I've never heard it or known about it. And Ray said right here that he never talked about this before. So it's newsworthy for that. But also just that a guy like Rey Mysterio, a family man, a good, I believe he's a religious person as well. Now, we all know he's a weed head and a stoner, but we don't really, right? That's not a big deal. Smoking, it's fine. It's fine. Not a big deal, right? But when you start popping the pills and stuff, that's when it becomes a problem. Especially after Eddie. You would have thought that he would have learned his lesson, but he did not. And he was leaning on those painkillers heavily when he was going through his many injuries. Especially, look, this was, he said it was right around his prime, like right when he was doing his big run in WWE. If this was during his title run or right around the time he was getting that big push, it's in the wrestler's mentality. It's built in that you bury that shit and you just keep going because you don't want to fuck up your push. If Ray's about to get a main event title push or he already has the title, what's he going to go tell fucking Vince that he wants to go to rehab now? He's going to lose the belt. He's going to come back and be lucky if he gets another Intercontinental title shot, let alone a world title shot. So it's a big deal, and that's why wrestlers do that shit. And even a Rey Mysterio can fall victim to that because it grabs you. You don't take it for fun the first time. You take it because you need it, and then you need more because it's not enough anymore. And you're taking them so much, and you're trying to get through your day on them. You're not just trying to take the edge off like some people do. They're out there still fucking crashing and banging all day long out in the ring and putting more damage on their injured body and then just trying to fix it with fucking downers. And then you get into the habit of where, okay, now I'm down. Now I need to pick myself up. So I need a few uppers to go do the show. Then I can come back down at night again. And it's that horrible system that does the damage to your heart. And even a Rey Mysterio fell victim to that. And then it took his wife, Angie, to give him an ultimatum. And look, this was, remember, Rey Mysterio's Hall of Fame induction speech. He talked about his wife, Angie, was there before he was anything. She was at his first match. Before he ever even had a first match, she was in his life. And she supported him. Literally, financially supported him. While he was out fucking just trying to make it, doing fucking indie shows, making nothing, hating his life, wanting to go back, wanting to give it up. Angie stood by him. For her to look at him and say, dude, you can do your drugs or you can do your family, but you're not going to do both. Wow. That's real life setting in right there. You know what I'm saying? So Ray had that decision to make, and he made it, and he never looked back. And that's the other big takeaway from this that I wanted to share, is that you can kick this shit. Not only has he never gone back, but he even went as far as to say that he doesn't even have to fight off that demon anymore. He doesn't crave it. He doesn't need it. It's not a slippery slope to where he could accidentally, fall back into it. And of course, anything could happen, you could get another severe injury, and that addiction could creep right back up again. But, he has not had the issue, and it's been 10, 15 years since his big world title push. So, everything seems to be going great for Ray. The weed seems to be doing the trick for him. So he's doing fine. Fucking Hall of Famer now at this point. His son's doing great in the company. I mean, what a fucking life. What a way to turn his shit around. What an inspirational story. Not to, Ray's whole entire career is an inspirational story. Just from how little he was and how unlikely it was for a little guy like that to even get a shot in the ring. Maybe doing jobs at indie shows. But to be to win the Royal Rumble, to win the world title at WrestleMania, to win the WWE Championship at 5'2", 5'3" tops. Rey Mysterio is a fucking legend, man. And even the legends fall victim to this kind of shit, but he overcame it. He beat it. And look, if you're going through this shit too, don't be ashamed of it. It gets the best of everybody. Look at Rey Mysterio. What a fucking guy, right? What a great guy. Far from a junkie. You'd never look at Rey Mysterio and go, that guy's a junkie. Weed head, perhaps, but not a junkie. So pick your fucking chin up. And take inspiration from these kind of stories if you're going through this shit, and realize that you can get through it too. Everybody can. Or if you know somebody that's going through it, maybe this story can help them. Again, the full interview is down in the description below. But I just wanted to shine some light on this and give props to Rey Mysterio. Booyaka, booyaka, 619. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below of what you thought of this clip. Or Rey Mysterio in general. Just show some love for Rey Mysterio. Peace, love, and pizza. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. So we all know Eric Bischoff loves taking his shots at AEW. He never misses a chance to kick him in the balls if the opportunity presents itself, or even when it doesn't present itself. He'll just fucking run up and kick him in the balls anyway. He loves that shit. So imagine my surprise when Eric Bischoff was putting over AEW running Wembley Stadium. Check out this clip.
I had a little birdie tell me ahead of time that they were going to, AEW, being the pronouns pal, were going to announce a Wembley show. And I raised an eyebrow and said, the stadium? And I was told, no, they like the arena. Oh, okay. It's the freaking stadium, Eric. And all I could think was how awesome this is for wrestling. You and I have both been fortunate enough to do live shows across the pond here. And man, it comes up every time we do a show, that Wembley show, that SummerSlam 92 show, that for that part of the world, that's their WrestleMania 3. And the idea that someone is going back and running a wrestling show in that same building. And I mean, just the idea that AEW is running a stadium. And I know that's been a goal since day one, and I know once upon a time they looked at this stadium and that stadium, and ultimately it's finally going to happen, an AEW stadium show. And what an arena to do it in. And there's whispers now that, hey, have you noticed they haven't announced it's a pay-per-view, but they were sure to mention that it's the Warner 100th anniversary and the Wembley 100th anniversary. Maybe it's going to be on HBO Max. Maybe it's going to be on TV. Whatever the case may be, they're running a freaking stadium. That's great for the business.
I think it's great for AEW. I think, and we talked about this on Strictly Business, another shameless plug. I think AEW is going to do extremely well. I think I can't predict turnout. Don't even want to try. But I can only imagine it's going to be hugely successful for AEW. Not just that event, because there's still a new car smell, on AEW, and especially in Europe, because now in Europe they've been hearing about AEW for 4 years,
Right.
They've been getting bits and pieces of it, however they get it. But now to have that show come to Wembley and a stadium show, it's going to be an event. It's bigger than wrestling. It's a cultural event, and I suspect it's going to do extremely well.
Hey, if you don't mind, will you take the palm of your hand and put it on your forehead? Do you think you have a fever? Because you just gave a compliment to AEW.
I compliment them. People only pick out the things I say that are negative. I am honest as I can be about things.
Yeah, this is a big, big deal. Even Eric Bischoff would agree. Pretty much everybody's talking about this, and everybody that's talking about it is basically saying that, yeah, this is most likely going to be a huge fucking success for AEW. Basically everybody but the internet troll marks that think that AEW is going to get laughed out of the stadium. It's going to be a big joke when 10,000 people show up to this 90,000 seat fucking stadium. That's just not going to be the case. Now, are they going to sell 90,000 tickets? No. But they're definitely going to sell north of 50. You get 50, 60, 70,000. I would shoot for 70. And I think 70 is very doable. I think they can get more than WWE had in Wembley for SummerSlam in 93. Then I think they'll get more for this AEW show. And we'll talk more about the specifics, and everybody's talking about that. And we'll get into other people's opinions on this too. As far as what matches could bring out the 90,000 people, or as close to it as you can. We'll talk about that in another segment, but just the idea of doing Wembley Stadium, man, it takes huge balls, and it's a big statement, and it's a boss statement, and it's going to work. It's going to work because it's the first time they're over in the UK anywhere. They've never been overseas at all in 4 years. And who knows when they'll go back over there again. Are people going to have to wait another 4 years to see AEW overseas? Probably not, now that they're going over there. But to start with, yeah, absolutely. These people, if you're a wrestling fan, you have not seen any of these guys yet at all. And then to add on top of that, if they bring out some star power and bust out some big matches and CM Punk's returning, man, they can really do some killer business over there, and they do some good marketing. Look, Tony Khan's already tied in with the Fulham football team over there, so he's probably got lots of different networks already in place for different things he can do. They would not be doing the stadium if they didn't think they could get at least 50,000 in there. But don't just take it from me. Here's another clip here. This is time from Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was on the Battleground podcast and was talking about this big Wembley Stadium show. Check out this clip.
So the sidetracking a little bit, obviously, Tony announced a massive show last week. AEW's debut in London, All In, August 27th, Wembley. Obviously, from your music background, that is a hollowed grounds, so to speak. What are you looking forward most to this show, from personally for Jericho yourself?
Well, I think from a personal standpoint, obviously Wembley's one of the most famous arenas or stadiums ever. My favorite gig of all time took place at Wembley Stadium, which is Queen at Live Aid, and my favorite show of all time, which is the Freddie Mercury tribute. In 1992 also took place there, which was an amazing celebration. So just to be there will be cool on both accounts. From a business standpoint, I think it was a great move. It's a big time move for Tony Khan to book Wembley. There's been a couple times over the years, the first time in Toronto, you should have booked a stadium. or first time in LA, you should have booked a stadium. Well, this time, our first time in the UK, you should have booked a stadium, and we do. And of course, the people that say you should have booked a stadium are like, you're crazy, it's too big. And it's like, to me, I think we could have done the O2, which is a great arena. We could have done Craven Cottage, which is the venue that Tony owns, I believe, with the Fulham Football Club, which he owns for sure, which him and Shad, his dad, own. I think going to Wembley is really like, oh yeah, hold my beer, check this shit out, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And I think it's going to be massive, and I think it has the potential to sell even more than what the pundits are expecting, because I think it's going to be more than just a wrestling event. I think it's going to be a cultural event. And the fact is, you know, when something becomes cool, that's when people want to go. Like, for example, the Metallica shows this summer in the stadiums. I think people will go because it's a stadium. Let's go check it out, man. Do you like Metallica? I think they're cool, but let me go. Like, I want to be a part of this whole event, like the Super Bowl or something along those lines. Let me just go. And I think we're going to get that reaction. Not to mention the fact that we have such a huge television presence in the UK and a huge fan base there. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not guaranteeing it or predicting it, but it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up with 60, 70,000 people in that joint.
No, absolutely not going to be surprised if they do 60. I'd be shocked if they do less than 50. If they do, they're going to do at least 50. I'll be shocked if they don't do 50 at least. But I think they can get to 60, if not 70. If they can get to 70, like a legit 70,000, that's going to be more than Wembley had for SummerSlam 93. And I don't know that I would make that like my official goal. You never want your goal just to be, you know, better than the other guy just to rub it in. But I would certainly love to reach that little milestone, you know, to have the biggest wrestling attendance in Wembley Stadium over WWE. That would be fucking dope. And look, WWE ain't going to Wembley anytime soon. You know, this is a baller ass move from AEW. You know, this, like Chris Jericho said, this is a hold my beer. You know, especially after WrestleMania, to drop this, because everybody's talking about WrestleMania and all the hype's there. This steers the conversation back towards AEW, and that's what you want to do. You want to be in the court of public opinion, and you're not going to compete with WrestleMania. But if you can come out after, and especially the sale, look, coming out of WrestleMania, it was all about going into WrestleMania. It was all about WrestleMania. Coming out, it was all about Cody got fucked, and it was about the fucking the sale. And now look what we're talking about. Couple 2 weeks later, we're talking about CM Punk's return, and we're talking about Wembley Stadium. So good on you, AEW. And there's all those people out there trolling. And if you're listening right now and you're like, ha ha, yeah, right, AEW is not going to get anywhere near 50,000, 60,000. You literally don't know what you're talking about. You just don't. You listen to too much Jim Cornette or something. I don't know how to help you. You're just a hater or a troll or just brain dead. You got to think about it like this. Where nobody's saying that they're going to fill the stadium because, well, first of all, nobody's saying they're going to sell 90,000. But, you know, 50, 60, 70 is being bantered about pretty freely. And those are all safe bets. And here's why. It's not because AEW is the biggest wrestling company in the world. You know, it's not because, oh, WWE doesn't even draw those numbers over there. AEW can't. You're looking at it wrong. This is the first time AEW's ever been there, first of all. WWE goes over to the UK all the fucking time, twice a year at least, right? And it's a tour over there. They hit multiple cities. They don't just go do one show and then bounce. AEW's going over there for the first time in 4 years, and they're doing one show. You stack that card on top of that, and you bring marquee matches and marquee stars and marquee people. Look, there's people that CM Punk hasn't wrestled in 7 years, and then he came back to AEW, and where did he wrestle? The United States. He wrestled in mostly Chicago, to be honest with you. So unless somebody flew from the UK over, they never got a chance to see CM Punk. You bet your ass there's going to be CM Punk fans that are going to want to see. Well, and all the other stars that are there too. Bryan Danielson, Sting, MJF, fucking name them. You know what I mean? Moxley, Jericho. They haven't seen Jericho in 4 years. This is going to be a big, big deal. They got the built-in marketing. Tony Khan owns, or Shad Khan owns, the Fulham football team over there. They have all the networks in place. It's not like, oh my God, we've never been to the UK before. How do we do this? Who do we contact? Where do we go? Oh, I hope we can get the word out. No, they got all of it already built in. Connections with all the media. All the pipelines are already there. Everything's going to be nice and fucking sputtery smooth. Then, as Chris Jericho said, this is going to create an event. This is not just going to be a wrestling show. Oh, we're hoping to sell out an arena tonight. We're going to Milwaukee. Oh, they can't even fill Milwaukee. Milwaukee was small crowd, small building. What are they thinking? Yeah, well, they've been to Milwaukee before as well, and it's Milwaukee. This is the entire UK. The UK's small too. People can drive. People will be able to take the fucking train from all over, from Ireland and Scotland and Belgium and whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? If people from Russia and the Ukraine will probably stop the war and they'll set their guns down and they'll come watch a wrestling show for a little bit while they're, you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be a big cultural event over there. As Conrad Thompson said in that clip earlier, this is the original Wembley show, is a show that's still talked about to this day fondly over in the UK. I mean, we still talk about it over here as something special, but the UK is particularly fond of that because they don't get big shows like that. They've had arena shows and they get their UK tours, and every once in a while they're just now starting to get pay-per-views and shit again because of the time difference. It never really worked out that way, so they'd get like a live event tour, basically, maybe a Raw or something, a SmackDown. But a stadium show? When's the last time they had a stadium wrestling show? 1993 SummerSlam, Wembley Stadium. Everybody says that's like their WrestleMania over there. That was their big show that they're still. I was there when that happened. Trust me, this is going to be a huge, huge show. Tony Khan's going to book the fuck out of it. He's not just going to book, the Acclaimed versus the fucking Gun Club. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the main event of this show. All hands are going to be on deck for this. This is going to be a big, big deal. I'm excited to see it. I think you're underestimating it if you think it's going to get less than 50. I think 50 should be a hole in one. I think rumors are that pre-sales are sitting, not pre-sales, but like the registered to do the pre-sale order are up to 45,000. Last I checked, there are 45,000 people that are signed up to buy the pre-sale tickets when they go on sale. Now, it doesn't mean they will buy the tickets. Maybe they'll cancel. They won't have enough money, or they'll decide the build or the hype isn't what they thought it would be. But also, you got to look at it. If there's 45,000 people signed up for pre-sale, like if you and you're taking your kids or your girlfriend or your wife or your brother or your cousin or your best friends or whatever, are you guys all signing up to do the pre-sale order? Or are you signing up to do the pre-sale order and you're going to get tickets for everybody? So you probably buy more than one ticket. So if there's 45,000 people already signed up to buy a ticket, chances are most of those people are going to buy more than one ticket. So we very well could be looking at a sellout of this thing. I would not be surprised if it hit 90,000. I don't think it will, but I think 60, 70 should be a pretty easy goal to achieve. But fuck that. Fuck me, right? What do I know? I'm just a fat guy yelling at a microphone in my basement. What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Is AEW going to sell this bitch out? Are they going to hit 50,000, 60,000, 70,000? Or are they going to fail epically? 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. It's going to look like shit and be a disaster and a bust. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Well, everybody's talking about last week's big news. AEW heading to Wembley Stadium in London, England. The first show over in the UK, the first stadium show in the UK since SummerSlam 1993. And everybody's talking about it, how big of a deal this is for AEW, for the wrestling business as a whole. And of course, there's lots of trolls out there as well who are balking and scoffing at this. They'll never fit more than 10,000, 20,000 people in that building. It'll be a big joke. They'll get laughed out of the UK. WWE doesn't even do those kind of numbers over there. What are they thinking? Well, they're absolutely going to do it. It's their first time over there. Now, are they going to sell 90,000? No. But they can certainly hit 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. But it's not just because it's their first time over in the UK. It's not just because they have so many stars that people haven't seen in the UK. CM Punk, MJF, Chris Jericho hasn't been over there in a while. Well, he did like a inside the ropes fucking gimmick there or whatever, but you get the point. Not only that, but the matches that you can put together for this fucking show. Oh, man. You could do, if you really, really wanted to book a super card and just fill this fucking thing out, there are some huge marquee matches you can do. And a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are speculating on it. So let's go ahead and check out a couple of these clips now, and then we'll talk on the back end about what are some of the matches that we can put together for this thing. First clip here I want to play is from the Hall of Fame podcast with Booker T and Brad Gilmore. And they're sitting around speculating on a couple of different matches or stars that could make this event special. Check out these clips.
Wembley, that's a big stadium, so they're gonna need some firepower to take into Wembley Stadium and really, really pull that thing off.
And I think there's a few things that you can do, and there are a few matches that maybe you can use to draw that crowd. And you gotta, and this is no knock to like any of the, I don't know, kind of the guys coming up in AEW, but to me, that's the card where you have heavy name influence. Like every top name you got's got to be on that card. It isn't all hands on deck, all names approach. You got to put as many recognizable names the worldwide on that show to draw 50,000 people. That's why people are going to call me crazy. You might call me crazy after I say this. That's why I think I'm making a prediction that a recent free agent on the market might make his AEW debut at Wembley. And I think it might be Bill Goldberg. I'm telling you. Get Goldberg to go in there against whoever as an attraction. That wouldn't be an attraction for Wembley Stadium. When's the last time Goldberg wrestled in London or Wembley, wherever Wembley is?
Look, I like
the
it.
UK.
Look, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not.
Tony Khan says he's got his eye on Goldberg. Should Sting, could this be a draw for Sting's last match to be at Wembley Stadium? Because I don't think if AEW does draw this crowd they're thinking, he will be wrestling in front of a larger crowd or a more historic venue for the remainder of his run in AEW. Retiring at Wembley in front of 50,000 could be pretty cool.
But they weren't the only ones fantasy booking this show, as Dax Harwood made the news this week as well. When on his podcast, FTR with Dax Harwood, he did a little fantasy booking of his own. And he fantasy booked one of, if not the main event for this show. Check out this clip.
Booking this all in, maybe for yourself and just in particular, how to get people interested in this show to get the amount of people that are needed to fill the stadium.
So I've said it before. I think that if we want to get 40,000, 50,000 tickets, it's the match we want to put on, the match that everyone wants to see, as far as that AEW goes. And I think it's, CM Punk and FTR versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega.
Wow.
That's what I think. Wow. And then I feel that the following week at All Out, separate those matches. That's me fantasy booking in my dream. I've been on board to have match 3 with the Young Bucks for forever. I think right now is the perfect opportunity to have those 3 matches I just named, the 6-man and the 2 individual matches, because of the changes that are going on with the WWE. We have the opportunity coming off of WrestleMania to build AEW and show people how good AEW is. And Tully always said it, that whenever business, if they were trying to get a boost in business back in Crockett days, or when he was with his dad at Southeastern, they would always put the best versus the best. And I feel that's what AEW needs to do right now, is put the best versus the best. Or I'm not even saying the best wrestler. I'm saying the best matchups against each other. And I think capitalizing off of
controversy.
Controversy and what this 6-man could be. That's what I feel. And then also, if you did the 6-man in the UK, right? And then you did the 2 individual matches in the United States the next week, no market feels cheated. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's my opinion.
Absolutely. So here's what you do. You do the Young Bucks against FTR. That's the match that I would do over in Wembley. I would do it for the tag team titles that FTR still currently holds. Who wins doesn't matter. Maybe the Young Bucks win, and then they drop them at All Out, as supposedly the All Out show is still happening, so that could be a thing. I don't do the 6-man tag here, and here's why. Because I think Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay is the match that you want to do in England. You could do Kenny against Punk. You really, really could, and I'd be fine with that. Or you do the 6-man, the Young Buck, the Elite Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus CMFTR. Also great options. But I think you want to have Will Ospreay on this show, both because he is a hometown favorite, and that's gonna pop the locals. One of the big things about Wembley and SummerSlam '93 was the British Bulldog was from there. Think they're going to want to get behind some of their own people? You got Will Ospreay there. Let's get him in the mix. So I think the rematch with him and Kenny Omega is the way to go, unless they're going to do that at like Forbidden Door or something. Then you can absolutely jump to the 6-man. That would be the way to go. And that's assuming that the Young Bucks want to work with FTR or CM Punk or anything like that. But here's what I would do. Me personally, Young Bucks, I would even do, maybe you do CM Punk and FTR versus the Elite at All Out. You could do it at Wembley or All Out. Really doesn't matter. But for my booking here, we do that so that we can do Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay and do that on this Wembley show. And then you take a CM Punk and you put him in his main event title match against MJF. You get that one out of your way and you do it in Wembley. CM Punk comes back in June to the build-up to the title match against MJF at Wembley. Maybe Punk wins it and then drops it back to MJF at All Out. Who knows? I'm not here to book All Out. Another thing you want to do, absolutely, as Brad Gilmore mentioned, you want to do Sting's last match. That's a layup. It's already been said that Sting's basically said he wants to retire this year. He's done, and he even laid the groundwork in his promo against MJF on Dynamite. The Stingers' showtime is coming to an end soon. Sting's last match. Now, if Punk ends up being tied up with the Elite, then I think, if MJF is free, then maybe Sting gets a title shot against MJF. But, for my booking here, what I'm leaning towards is we're going to do Sting against Darby. I believe Sting had said he would like his last match to be against Darby. It doesn't mean they got to have a feud or a breakup or anything. Just have it's announced as his last match. Win, lose, or draw, Sting's last match is happening in Wembley. Don't do if I lose, I retire. Just announce it as Sting's last match. That's a draw. People want to go to Wembley stadiums to see Still. Never, ever, 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 ever see Sting wrestle again. This is your absolute last time to see him. Sting's last match. That's a layup against Darby Allin. Punk against MJF. FTR versus The Elite. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. You do bring Goldberg in for one shot. Absolutely, I agree with that as well. Why? Because he's available. 2, because you want to sell tickets. Sell the tickets. I wouldn't sign him to any kind of long contract with AEW. I might even just make it a one-match, one-time deal. One appearance. I kind of liked, what did Booker say? Put him against QT Marshall or something like that. You just get Goldberg in there to just jackhammer spear 1, 2, 3. So you don't want to put him in there against anybody that he's going to hurt, right? And I mean, I guess physically, technically, but I mean, just, their win-loss record or whatever. Somebody that they can job out. You don't want to necessarily waste a space of QT Marshall on the big show, but it's going to be a quick one. And, look, he does a lot of work backstage. There's a little reward ski for him. Get him on the show. That's what I would do. I really do like that. And then as far as the rest of the card, just fill it out with some of your other top draws, your other top matches. The Acclaim's got to be on that card somewhere. Orange Cassidy's got to be in there. The House of Black's got to be in there. Lots of different. Chris Jericho's got to be on that card. What do you do with Chris Jericho? Lots of cool shit that you can do over in the UK. So I think it's a slam dunk. I really do. I think they can pull out all the stops, call in favors. Oh, you also bring in Mercedes Moné. I didn't hear anybody else talk about that. Bring in Mercedes to face either. You square off against Britt Baker, and you put the IWGP Women's title on the line. And if all parties are cool with it, it would be fun to maybe drop the title to Britt Baker in Wembley and then have her win it back at All Out. You see, I keep saying that. I don't want to do that for every storyline, but I think that's something you can absolutely do. The old Tuesday in Texas gimmick, right? Where Survivor Series, The Undertaker beat Hulk Hogan for the world title, but then just dropped it a couple days later at a Tuesday in Texas pay-per-view to Hulk Hogan. So you either do that with Britt or you do the reverse with Jamie Hayter. And you have Hayter go in and you have her fucking drop the AEW Women's title to Mercedes. And then Mercedes drops it right back to Hayter on All Out. I think that would be a good one to do. Either or would be fine. It'd be a huge spotlight for Jamie Hayter, who's from the UK, so that might be the better way to go. But ultimately, Britt Baker is your biggest female star, so you can't go wrong with pairing her up with Britt Baker either. Saraya, get her on the show somewhere in there. Lots of great shit you can do. So to tell me that you can't fit 50,000 people, if you do all of that and you don't get 50,000 people at least, you're fucking suck, man. I think anybody could put that card together and draw 50,000 in Wembley. But it will remain to be seen. CM Punk returning. Lots of big things to do over there. So you get like Bryan Danielson to work with fucking Zack Sabre Jr. maybe. You bring in people from other companies. You got still got Switchblade Jay White that you can fit on the card. It's going to be huge. But I could just keep going, naming off great names that would help sell this show. But I think I hit all the highlights for you that you need to hear that I think will sell this show. But that's just my opinion. Am I wrong? You still think that they can't do 50,000 with that kind of a card? You're insane, first of all. But if you do think that and you have your reasons why, let me know down in the comments below. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Jeff Hardy made his long-awaited return to AEW TV this week. This coming off of his suspension from his DUI last year. Jeff Hardy was sentenced earlier this year. He was sentenced to time served plus 10 years license suspended, and a whole slew of fines and that sort of thing. Tony Khan had suspended him from AEW TV and basically told him he was not going to be welcome back unless he had completed treatment. Well, apparently he has gone through and completed his treatment, and he looks to be in phenomenal shape. And according to his brother Matt Hardy on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast, Jeff's in a good place and doing well. Check out this clip.
Yeah, I'm fired up, man. I'm fired up.
The fired up one, Matt Hardy.
Yeah, my adrenaline's pumping. My blood is pumping. It's a good night.
It is a
Good night to be a Hardy tonight, man. Brother Nero is back. John Alba.
He is.
He's
Brother
back.
Nero is back. This has been a long journey, Matt Hardy, to this point. A very emotional night on AEW Dynamite. We wanted to, normally we tape before Dynamite, but we wanted to tape after Dynamite to be able to get this very authentic reaction to what happened on Dynamite. Why don't you break it down for the people, Matt, and let everyone know how'd this all go down?
It was a very, very interesting night, and it was an interesting day. And this literally came together the last few days. We've been talking about this for a while. Jeff's eye will take a little while. It's I kept making a joke. So how'd you fly here today? Did you take a red eye? Because he still has like blood in his eye. So they said that would probably take like 6 to 8 weeks. So I kind of put out there probably in 6 to 8 weeks, he should be good, whatever. But his vision was fine. His eyes are stable. They're working in sync now. So they're really good. And he actually got cleared technically at the end of last week, to like do stuff physically again. So we had an idea about bringing him in, interjecting him into the scenario.
Well, listen, it's a big deal, Matt, and it's going to be a polarizing topic of discussion for the next few weeks here in the wrestling realm. You and I have spoken ad nauseum about it, including in the past few weeks. And on this week's episode, we'll be talking about your WrestleMania 25 feud with Jeff, and I'm very excited to get into that. But, let's get real here for a second. This has been a long journey for your brother, and he had a very serious incident where he could have gotten hurt. He could have hurt somebody else, maybe even worse. He put 10 months of work into himself after that. How are things looking here as he gets back in the fold? Is this the right environment for him to be in? I have to ask these questions.
Of course. This is the most work I've ever seen him do himself. And he had 10 months. And he seems different. He seems different. And once again, I don't want to sit here and vouch for him. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to take anyone else's word for it. I want you to watch him and follow his actions. And then he'll make you a believer if that's what you need. I am confident his actions and his conduct and his behavior will make people a believer. He's made me a believer. I've got to see a lot of him, and I've got to follow his journey, and I know the work he has put in, and I know how dedicated he's been to legitimately changing and trying to get his shit together once and for all. And all I can say is, I'm just so extraordinarily proud of him.
Look, far be it from me to be a hater or to hold anybody back or to, not have faith in somebody's good effort. And look, I respect what Matt had to say. And that he, sees that Jeff is doing really good and that don't take his word for it. We'll get to see it in his actions. Sure. I hope we do. But I'm at the point now where I don't trust Jeff Hardy anymore. Jeff Hardy was just on the Chris Jericho podcast before he got arrested for his DUI gimmick and had said at that time, no, I'm clean and sober. All that stuff's behind me. 2 months later, he's arrested for a DUI. So I don't hate the guy. I like Jeff Hardy. I like Jeff Hardy a lot. I think he's a legend. He's a phenomenal in-ring performer. He's an iconic wrestling personality, but he's got his issues. He's got his demons, if you will, baby. And I don't know if he'll ever be able to beat him. I certainly don't trust that he will. I will take at their word, Jeff and Matt's word and Tony's, that, with Jeff being back, that he's in a good place now and that he will be able to, keep his head above water and stay clean and sober and committed to his wrestling career, and I hope to see a good run for the Hardy Boys, and I hope all the success in the world for Jeff Hardy. I just don't trust it. And that's not to be negative. That's not to hate on Jeff. I'm not trying to knock him here. He's just out of chances with me. I haven't forsaken him or brushed him off or dismissed him completely, but I'm not gonna sit and listen. Oh yeah, no, I'm sober this time. I promise. I'm sure he is sober right now, but for how long? And even, can we ever trust what he has to say? I've heard him lie to my face, not literally face to face, but it was just 2 weeks before he got arrested. He was on Chris Jericho's podcast talking about how well he was doing. You're full of shit. He was asked about the walkout at WWE, and he's like, oh, yeah, no, everybody thought I was on drugs. I was fine. It was just, just a mental breakdown or whatever. Yeah, sure. I'll believe it when I see it, and I don't even know if I see it that I'll believe it. It's just one of those things. We're past it now, but I do wish all the best for Jeff. I think it's great that he's back in AEW. He brings star power to the roster. Had a great time heading into the summer, heading into this Wembley Stadium show. Imagine the Hardy Boys on the Wembley Stadium show as a team against whoever the fuck, really. Put them against the Ass Boys for all I care. It's the Hardy Boys are the attraction there. So I think it'll be phenomenal. And Jeff's going to add a lot to AEW's business. He'll sell a lot of merch. He'll have a lot of kids wearing the face paint probably. But at the end of the day, can you really trust the guy? Can you trust that he's going to stay clean and sober? I would keep him on a very short leash. And the second that he fucks up, he's gone forever. No more other chances. Tony Khan gave him a second chance. He should not give him a third. And that's just my thoughts, because Tony Khan's second chance is Jeff Hardy's 5th, 6th, 7th chance. Just ask Sting how Jeff Hardy is when he's, of course that was alcohol, and with Sting it was drugs, but you get the point. Jeff Hardy's a mess. He's a bit of a mess, and he's got a long ways to go before he can earn the trust. He can earn another chance, but will he earn the trust? Does he earn your trust? Do you trust that Jeff Hardy is clean and sober now, or that he will stay clean and sober? It's a tough question, isn't it? But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, what you think about that. And also, what do you think about Jeff just being back in AEW? Are you excited to see him actually get in the ring and wrestle? See what he has to bring to the table? And if he can still fucking be the Jeff Hardy of old. Well, it's a feud as old as time. Britt Baker, DMD, the Good Doctor, and Thunder Rosa, eternally at odds with each other, always beefing. This goes back to basically all the way back when Thunder Rosa first joined AEW. There was a competitive rivalry between the two, and it just seems to be fueled by backstage drama and in-ring botches and nonsense, and these two just don't fucking like each other. And we thought all this might have been settled, but it wasn't. As we see on the AEW All Access show, Britt Baker is still talking shit about Thunder. Now, granted, this was recorded a while ago. This isn't today, but it's still coming out now, and you're hearing all these things that Britt Baker had to say about Thunder Rosa. Well, one person that's friends with both of them is Dave LaGreca over on Busted Open Radio. And Dave LaGreca had both of these ladies on his podcast separately, different days, of course, but had both of these ladies on his podcast to talk about it. First with Britt Baker, we'll hear a clip from her, and then we'll follow up with a clip from Thunder Rosa. Check out these clips.
Man, it's very difficult for me to watch, and I know you can understand that because I've known you for quite some time. I consider you a friend. I love Thunder, and just seeing this play out that the way it is, and it's very, very difficult, and I'm sure it's probably difficult on you as well.
It's not, because people, it's just like on Twitter. People twist and turn your words and say that you said something that you didn't. All I did on the show was ask if she's able to travel, and she's traveling all over the place, but she's going on Busted Open every week saying, I'm still the champion. Why won't you just come to work? Why can't you come cut a promo? Why can't you come do commentary? Why can't you come just say hi to the locker room? Chris Statlander has had her knees blown out for over a year now, and she's there, I think, every single week. I have a very workhorse mentality where I want to be at work. As soon as I'm done at Dynamite, I get on a plane and go to the dental office. So I can't relate to that mentality. It's why you don't want to be at work where you tell everybody you're the champion of. And I'll be honest, I've asked her that same question twice, and she doesn't have an answer for me either. And it's not that, oh, I want her to work hurt, or I don't believe in her injury. There's none of that. It's just, why not come to the locker room that you're the champion of when you can? Because when you had people like Adam Cole, who literally couldn't travel, he couldn't even leave the house for weeks. It was a huge milestone when he could take a walk up and down the street with his head injury, and after he got through a milestone of brain. That is what I don't understand, and people don't have to agree with me. That's fine. But I'm a very bold and stubborn individual, and I stand by what I said.
For me personally, I wanted to drop the title the day that they told me I couldn't wrestle because I was going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. And you're absolutely right. My boss made that decision. He said, you are going to be the champion, and we will have an interim champion. I wanted to make it, for me, as a competitor, I wanted to make it fair. So my peers had an opportunity to defend the championship, because it wasn't fair that I wasn't there and I wasn't going to be there. And, I was going to hold the title. I think the problem comes, and I think this is a question that was raised. It was Mish not showing up. I wasn't booked to go there. And when I got the news that I wasn't going to keep the title, it really caught me by surprise. And I was like, oh, today is the day. Okay. I wasn't able to go. I wasn't there to be able to get in the ring and say, guys, unfortunately, we made a decision. Here's a title. Thank you very much for the opportunity to let me, represent. That opportunity wasn't given to me. Give me a note. I have a little note that I would like to read just to make sure that it's very clear. But that's pretty much it, And like I said, I have talked to the locker room, and I took accountability for things that some people had issues with me, and I went out there and apologized. And that's the best thing that I can do, because I want to make money. I want to make sure that I am able to work with everyone, regardless if we have any issues or not. At the end of the day, I'm booked to wrestle, right? Unfortunately, I can't wrestle right now. Right now, there's no storyline between Britt Baker and I. And let me tell you, David, God is my witness. Every morning and every night, before I go to sleep, I pray to God that when I get clear, there's one thing I want to do, and one thing only. And that is not to get the championship or the TBS or the women's championship, but there's one thing, and settle this in the ring for once and for all. And that's to wrestle Britt Baker and show the world what a real professional wrestler is. That's all I have to say about this.
I see where both of these women are coming from. And now look, before you get going, yes, there's a possibility this could all just be a work. I mean, this is how you do it. If you're gonna do like a work shoot gimmick in 2023, this is exactly how you get that shit done. You do it outside of the ring. You do it in the press, in the media. People will buy into it there. There's no reason to believe that this is fake. There's no reason to believe that these women don't like each other, because it's all they talk about and everything that they do. But that's the point. So it could very well be a work, but I'm going to assume that it's not, and just kind of take it at face value. Look, Britt Baker has a point on her side. Thunder Rosa, she had me when she said that Chris Statlander shows up for TV every week, but fucking Thunder Rosa doesn't. Now, Thunder Rosa tries to counter that by saying she wasn't booked. Well, was Chris Statlander booked? She getting flown in for all these shows, or is she just going? She talked to Tony and said, hey, I'd still like to come to TV. I bet you Tony flew her in. I bet you he would do the same for Thunder Rosa. And it's the principle of the thing. Like Britt said, you are supposedly the champion of this division, and you can't even be bothered to be here. But you can be on this show and that show and bust it open and do this and that. Can't be here, though. Meanwhile, the people that are here got to be interim. I get that beef. But then you got Thunder Rosa's side. Look, I wasn't booked. It's not my decision to be interim champion. If it was up to me, I would have forfeited the title in the middle of the ring and said, gave a little speech and said, here, it's for you guys. She tried to deflect the heat and tried to say, LaGreca helped with that too. Like, oh, that's on Tony for, booking it that way. And tried to say that, Thunder Rosa would have been there if she was booked to be there, and that she wants, all the attention to be on the women's division, the talent that's in the women's division now going forward. Maybe she's right. I don't know. I used to like Thunder Rosa a lot. I still do, still would, kind of. But I kind of get what Britt's talking about, and I see her points, and it's making me look twice at Thunder Rosa a little bit. Now, I don't think she's sandbagging people. I don't think she sucks in the ring. I think all of that was kind of blown out of proportion. I think she's just stiff. Maybe a little difficult to work with. Maybe she makes you work for it a little bit. You can't just do a move to her. You got to fight for a move from her. Maybe. But this whole interim championship thing, I think Britt Baker needs to just stop talking about it. Like Tony Schiavone said on All Access, you need to drop this. Tony Schiavone's like, you keep talking about this. Let it go. Drop it. So I think Britt does need to drop it, but she's an opinionated, loudmouth bitch, and that's how she gets shit accomplished. And that's how she got to where she is now, which is pretty fucking far in life. So who am I to judge that either? But this seems to be a feud that is eternal, never ending. Can always go back to it and always draw money with it. And they will again when these two eventually meet again. You can mark my words on that. But that's all I got to say about it now. What are your thoughts? What do you think of this whole Thunder Rosa Britt Baker thing? Think Thunder Rosa sucks? You think Britt Baker sucks? You think Britt needs to shut up about it? Or do you think she's right? And what blame does Tony Khan have in all of this? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Dax Harwood on the FTR with Dax Harwood podcast has officially stated that the FTR has re-signed with AEW, that they've signed on for 4 years, and supposedly, apparently, when all is said and done at the end of those 4 years, they will be done with professional wrestling. I hope that's not the case. 4 years is not a lot of time. They can cram a pretty hefty career in 4 years, but still, it's going to go by quick, But FTR had a big decision to make. They were looking at a free agency. Do they go back to the WWE where Triple H is booking now? And now they've been able to prove their worth outside of the company. I'm sure they were offering huge paychecks. AEW, the Young Bucks been ducking them. Do they really want to stay there? A lot of decisions they had to look at, but check out this clip here with Dax Harwood on why they came to the decision that they did and the official announcement that they are signed with AEW.
We weren't building on our legacy. I feel like our legacy had flatlined, in WWE. In AEW, even though there were times and there are going to be times and there still are times now where I feel like momentum has been missed or we don't necessarily agree with the direction or the idea of FTR, what they're doing, still, man, the legacy that we have created, cemented, built on in the last 3 years is because of what Tony Khan could offer us. And he could offer us a schedule. He could offer us a platform that we felt was better for us and that we could trust a little more than what WWE could offer us. I appreciate everyone that reached out to me through other, no pun intended, endeavors or avenues. Yes. Yeah. And were interested in having us back, wanted to have us back, said that they made the mistake of letting us go. But for me, 2023, Cash 2023, Maria and Finley, the best course of action for us was to stick around here in AEW.
So to be clear, you have re-signed with AEW. Is that something you want to say?
Yes, we have re-signed with AEW. Another misconception, and me and Cash talked about this on I think the Uprocks interview that just came out. Another misconception that we got tagged in so much on social media was FTR found out that Vince is back in charge, and they decided to stay.
Right.
Or FTR told Tony, give us the belts, or we're going to WWE.
Yeah, that was a funny one.
Yeah, dude. So it's like us and Ultimate Warrior. We're holding the companies up.
Right.
That's what we do. But if you think that, but because Vince has officially been back in charge since what, right before WrestleMania, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about how big a hand he has, but he's definitely there. It's definitely not like it was 2 or 3 months ago.
Right. If you think that we put pen to paper as soon as that happened, and Tony made all the adjustments as soon as that happened, man, I don't know if you understand how business or contract works.
Right.
If you think we went into the building Wednesday night with no contract signed, and we said, we're not going to sign this contract unless you give us these belts, man, you are so short-sighted. I told you on the podcast a month ago, or maybe it was 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, we knew what we wanted to do, and everything was getting fine-tuned, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and all that stuff. But yeah, we knew way before Vince came back in charge what was going to happen.
Yeah, bro. Of course they re-signed with AEW. What do you think, they're going to go back to WWE and wear the fucking Flava Flav clocks and the fucking clown outfits and stuff? They were a joke. They were a goddamn joke in WWE. And granted, Triple H kind of in charge of booking now, mostly in charge of booking. Maybe things would be a little bit different for FTR. But would they be? Would they really? Who's there to work with? The Usos, Owens and Zayn. The Street Profits are breaking up apparently in the draft. So who are they going to work with? The Viking Raiders? Fucking New Day again? Like, really? There's some fun matches to have there. Alpha Academy. There's some fun matches they could have there, but at the end of the day, they're going to get held down. They're not going to be main event top star guys. They're not going to get the opportunity to go work in Japan. They're not going to get the opportunity to go work in Mexico. They're not going to be fucking multi-time tag team champions in that run. They would be lucky to probably get another tag team title run, but they're not going to get pushed over the Usos or Sammy and Kevin as long as they're together. So there's a ceiling there. But beyond that, Vince is in charge now. And look, Dax said, you think this was the decision. We were already working on re-signing AEW long before Vince was officially back. That could be, but maybe he kind of thought Vince was never really going to be out of the picture to begin with. And either way, whatever the case may be, I mean, they had a ceiling in WWE, and there's no guarantee that they would be able to break through that ceiling on their way back. They are going to be able to have a much more legendary career here in AEW than they ever would in WWE. The money's there, the star power there, the household name, all of that would be there, but who knows? They might break up FTR in a fucking draft. That's something Vince would do. Fuck these guys. Put them in fucking, put them on separate brands, see how they like that shit. Teach them to leave this company again. God damn it. So I think they made the right call. Yeah, they got their beefs with AEW too. They don't always agree with the way Tony books stuff. They certainly have been dicked around by the Young Bucks. And there's all of that to consider. And their outward public affiliation with CM Punk probably isn't doing them any favors either, I would imagine. Or Dax's podcast in general. Because he says what's on his mind. He calls it like he sees it. He says it how it is. So people don't like that. People don't like to hear that. So it's going to get them a lot of heat anyway, but at the end of the day, man, they're going to have much more of an opportunity despite all of that in AEW because Tony's just more flexible. He's willing to work with them. And not only their career-wise, but like their home schedule. They're going to be at home more. The schedule is easier. The money is going to be comparable. It's kind of a no-brainer unless you want your legacy to be a retirement in WWE. If you're good with just saying you worked WWE, you wrestled at WrestleMania, you held all 3 tag team titles that are eligible to win there's nothing left to accomplish unless you want more tag team titles, or you want a Hall of Fame run, or you want there'll be Hall of Famers anyway, dude. There'll be a Hall of Fame tag team. They'll get brought back at some point. They'll be brought into of course they will. Why wouldn't they be? Maybe not for a long time, but the WWE Hall of Fame's always hurting for people. It was just a good move. And I know there's a lot of WWE fanboys out there who think that this was a terrible move and they wanted to see the revival revived in WWE, or maybe there's people in AEW that don't like FTR. They wanted to see them go. They like the Young Bucks, or they hate CM Punk and fuck FTR. There's that too. Fine. I get all that, but this was the best decision for them to make, and now they're tag team champions again. I suspect they'll have a nice little run with it because there's nobody else on their heels. The smart thing would be to do is to build to the rubber match with the Young Bucks. That would be the smart thing to do. That would be the fun way to go. They're no longer trios champions. Kenny looks to be breaking off into singles competition again. Build up to All Out or All In at Wembley, either or, with the tag team titles on the line against the Young Bucks. Let the Young Bucks even win them at that point, because then by then, FTR will be champions for almost a half a year. They can get it again in the 4 years. So I don't know. I think that's the way that I would book it, and that's the way that it should go. I think they'll have a good little run. They should do some more in Japan. Absolutely. They need to be on a couple other Wrestle Kingdom shows. That would be fun. The Forbidden Door. Maybe another stop in Ring of Honor. Maybe they try for the Ring of Honor titles and get the Ring of Honor tag team champions over again. Who knows? But 4 years is a long time. It'll go by fast, but it's a long time. You can fit a lot of career in that time. So I think they made a good decision. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next motherfucker. That's it. That's all I got for you this week. A loaded show. I even made a couple cuts. I had 2 other segments I was going to do, but I went long with some of the other stuff. Combined into 2 segments. I had the Eric Bischoff on Wembley and the Jericho on Wembley as kind of separate clips, but they're basically it's the same story. It's the same conversation. So might as well mix them in together. But we made it. We made it all the way to the end. I tried something new this time too. Been wanting to get back into doing the shorts and getting the shorts out there. And it's really hard because by the time I get the show edited and uploaded and everything, I'm burnt the fuck out on editing this goddamn podcast for the week. And going in and doing shorts, like editing out little 1-minute clips out of the show, it's time consuming. And sometimes like a clip is like a minute 20 or a minute 12, and I got to try to cut out breaths and words and stuff to make it fit under a minute, because YouTube Shorts doesn't allow you to upload anything longer than a minute. I think Reels and TikToks do, but Short YouTube doesn't. So instead, this time I kind of went through and I recorded separate little taglines, little 1-minute summations of these bigger clips and little thoughts and things like that. So we'll try it that way. We'll see how far that gets us. Just trying to keep the content out there. I'm going to keep working on some other stuff too. I have lots of ideas. It just kind of comes down to time. I'm working on another book right now, and that's eating up a lot of my free time. And that's not a quick task. It's not like, I finished my book this week. It's like, this is going to be busy for a while, but I'm trying to juggle it all together, doing what I can. I'm a one-man wrecking crew, if you will. But I love it. I love doing this shit. I love creating content. I love recording videos. Just gotta try to find a way. I'd love to get the shorts back into the mix. And I want to start doing reactions again, too. I've been slacking on my reaction videos, so I'm going to hop back in and try to pound out some more of those going forward here. Just keep the content flowing. I was going to go to the SummerSlam. I went online, and SummerSlam is going to be in Detroit. I went online and looked for tickets. Got the little pre-sale or the now on sale notification. Tickets, even up in the nosebleeds, are $200 minimum. That's fucking insane. So if I just bring one person, that's $400 I gotta pay. If they don't buy their own ticket, or if I wanted to bring my kids, $600 just to go to the show, and that's just flat price. And that's, I mean, I couldn't even find seats for that. That was the lowest that they had. I'd have to search around for seats, but a lot of them were like $212, $230, and then you add on the convenience fees and the taxes and all that, then the gas to get there, then the parking fee, then food and drink while you're there. My God, yes, you're in $1,000 to go to a fucking wrestling show. I don't care how good of a show it is. I don't care who's there. Andre the Giant could come back from the dead and fucking come out and sit on somebody and shit on their chest. I don't care. It's too much money for me. I'm tapped out. Need to be in the show for $50, $60, $70, $80, maybe. Maybe you could get me to come off of $100 for a pay-per-view at a stadium like SummerSlam. But $200, and that's base, like low before fees? Fuck that. I'm out. Looking for some maybe aftermarket. If you got a scalper out there trying to slang some like $50 tickets, holler at your boy. That's all I got for you. Follow me on Facebook, TikTok, and what's the other one? I'm on Twitter at Seth Grimes Media on all three of them. You can also check out my book, The Gathering, A Bold Journey into the Belly of the Juggalo Underworld. Links in the description below. Audible, Amazon, and Kindle. So if you like physical copies, digital copies, or you like to just listen to it in your earbuds, got you covered. All of it. So that's all I got for you. Until next time, I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and this has been the Pro Wrestling Podcast. That was a horrible one. Podcast. My voice. Ugh. I'm starting to feel it go. I'm talking a lot.